In a world filled with complex decisions and moral dilemmas, it can be challenging to know what the right decision is, especially when external pressures, emotions, or personal desires cloud our judgment. Whether it's in the workplace, in relationships, or in our personal lives, we often face situations that force us to choose between competing values: honesty versus kindness, loyalty versus truth, or self-interest versus the greater good. Stoicism, with its emphasis on virtue, wisdom, and integrity, offers a powerful guide for navigating these ethical dilemmas. Epictetus reminds us, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This simple yet profound Stoic thought teaches us that our action should be the expression of our values, not just our words. Ethics is not about simply knowing what's right, but about living it, especially when faced with difficult choices. In this video, we will explore how Stoic wisdom can help us navigate ethical dilemmas with clarity, courage, and moral integrity. By focusing on virtue and rational action, we can make the right decisions, even when it's difficult, and align our choices with our deepest values. Epictetus offers us an insightful challenge when he says, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This powerful quote highlights the Stoic approach to ethical decision-making. Philosophy is not meant to be merely spoken about or theorized. It is meant to be practiced and lived. In the face of ethical dilemmas, Stoicism teaches us that the true test of our moral compass is not in the words we say or the ideals we hold, but in the decisions we make and the actions we take. Instead of getting caught up in the complexities of theory or rationalizing our choices, Stoicism encourages us to act in alignment with our values, consistently choosing what is virtuous and just. In every difficult decision, the Stoic asks, "What is the most virtuous action I can take in this situation?" This focus on embodiment over explanation empowers us to make ethical choices that are rooted in integrity and virtue, even when faced with challenging circumstances. Reflection and teaching. Epictetus's wisdom, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it," challenges us to move beyond simply knowing what's right and to actually live it. In today's world where ethical dilemmas are often complicated by competing interests and external pressures, it's easy to get lost in the theory of right and wrong or to justify actions that align with our desires rather than our principles. Stoicism, however, teaches that ethics is not about theorizing or explaining what's right. It's about embodying the truth through action. The struggle of ethical dilemmas. We all face ethical dilemmas at some point. Whether it is deciding whether to speak the truth at the expense of a relationship, whether to prioritize personal gain over the welfare of others, or whether to stick to our principles in a situation where external pressures challenge our values. It's easy to rationalize decisions based on pragmatic reasons or emotional impulses, but Stoicism calls us to a higher standard. The Stoic approach to ethics is rooted in the belief that virtue is the highest good. It's not about doing what's easiest or most comfortable, but about doing what is right, regardless of the consequences. The Stoics' guiding question is not, "What will others think?" or "What will be the easiest path?" but rather, "What is the virtuous action I must take here?" Stoicism and ethical decision-making. Virtue as the foundation of ethical decisions. Stoicism teaches us that virtue is the only true good. According to the Stoics, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance are the four cardinal virtues that guide our decisions in the face of an ethical dilemma. The Stoic mind always asks, what would be the most just, the most courageous, or the most temperate course of action? These virtues become our moral compass, helping us navigate difficult choices with clarity and integrity. Self-examination, self-reflection is a key Stoic practice. At the core of Stoic ethics is the daily exercise of examining our actions and asking whether they align with our principles in the midst of a moral challenge. It's easy to become blinded by emotion, self-interest, or fear of judgment. The Stoics remind us to step back and reflect on the long-term consequences of our actions. Will this decision contribute to my growth in virtue? Does it align with my values of honesty, justice, and respect for others? By practicing self-examination, we gain greater awareness and clarity in decision-making, choosing the higher road. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from the ability to choose virtue over convenience. When faced with difficult ethical decisions, it's easy to be swayed by external factors, the desire for approval, the temptation of financial gain, or the pressure to fit in. The Stoic path is about choosing the higher road. Even when it's not the easiest or most popular, courage is the virtue that helps us stand firm in our decisions. Even when we face resistance, the Stoic doesn't act out of convenience. They act out of a commitment to doing what is right, regardless of external consequences, controlling what's within our power. One of the most important aspects of Stoic ethics is recognizing the dichotomy of control. In every situation, there are things beyond our control, others' actions, external events, or even the outcomes of our decisions. What we can control is our own actions, thoughts, and decisions. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what is in our power, acting with integrity and doing what is right, and to let go of any attachment to the outcome. By focusing on doing the right thing, without being attached to the results, we free ourselves from unnecessary anxiety and self-doubt. Embodying virtue in every moment, Stoicism calls us to live our philosophy through daily practice. Ethical decision-making is not something we do only in moments of crisis. It's something we practice daily. In every interaction, choice, and action, the Stoic strives to embody virtue in every moment. Whether it is being honest in a difficult conversation, standing up for justice when others are silent, or practicing temperance in moments of temptation, each action is an opportunity to live our philosophy and align our decisions with our deepest values. Living stoically in the face of ethical dilemmas. The Stoic way of dealing with ethical dilemmas is to first pause, reflect on the principles that guide us, and act in alignment with our core values, not in reaction to external pressure, emotional impulses, or temporary desires. By focusing on virtue and reason, we transform challenges into opportunities to practice integrity, wisdom, and strength. Every decision is a chance to become the person we aspire to be, regardless of the difficulties or sacrifices required. When we embody Stoic principles, we gain clarity and confidence in our decisions. We know that we are acting in line with what is right, not with what is easy. And through this commitment to virtue, we cultivate a deeper sense of self-respect and inner peace, knowing that we are always striving to act in accordance with our highest values. In a world filled with competing values, ethical dilemmas are an inevitable part of life. Whether it's a decision at work, in our personal relationships, or even in how we choose to live our lives, we are often forced to choose between what seems easier and what feels right. The temptation to choose convenience, self-interest, or immediate gain can be overwhelming. But Stoicism offers us a profound guide to navigating these challenges, the principle of virtue. Epictetus reminds us that the only way to gain true knowledge is to begin by acknowledging that we know very little. This insight isn't just about humility. It is about understanding that true wisdom comes from acknowledging our limitations and making decisions rooted in virtue and reason, not just our personal desires or the pressures of the world around us. When we face ethical dilemmas, Stoicism teaches us to focus not on what others think or what is immediately easy, but on what aligns with our deepest values. Stoic philosophy is about acting with integrity, choosing virtue even when it's difficult, even when it requires sacrifice, and even when the easier path seems tempting. The struggle of ethical dilemmas are often not black and white. In many cases, we must choose between competing goods, honesty versus kindness, loyalty versus truth, personal success versus the well-being of others. Stoicism doesn't provide a formula for every situation, but it does offer a framework for decision-making that focuses on virtue and rationality. The Stoic approach encourages us to ask ourselves, what is the virtuous action here? How does this decision align with my values of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance? Instead of allowing external circumstances or emotional impulses to dictate our actions, we turn to reason and virtue to guide our decisions. The Stoic path to ethical decision-making. Virtue is the highest good. According to Stoic thought, virtue, the pursuit of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, is the only true good. When we face a decision, we must first ask ourselves, which choice aligns with these core virtues? When we prioritize virtue over convenience or external rewards, we make decisions that lead to long-term fulfillment, rather than short-term satisfaction. Self-reflection and self-examination. Stoicism encourages self-reflection to ensure that our actions are aligned with our values at the end of each day. The Stoics would examine their behavior. Did I act justly? Was I patient in the face of adversity? Did I make decisions based on reason and virtue? Or was I swayed by emotion? This practice of self-examination helps us remain true to our principles, even when faced with difficult choices. Focus on what you can control. One of the core Stoic principles is the dichotomy of control. While we can't control how others act or the external situations we find ourselves in, we can control our responses. When faced with an ethical dilemma, we should focus on what's within our power, our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions. By focusing on what we can control, we reduce the stress and frustration that often rises when we try to control the uncontrollable. Embrace the greater good. Stoicism teaches us that the collective good often takes precedence over personal desire. While it's natural to want what benefits us, Stoics believe that we must also consider how our actions impact others. In an ethical dilemma, ask yourself, how can I act in a way that benefits the greater good? Justice and fairness are key Stoic virtues, and by prioritizing the well-being of others, we can act with integrity, even in the most difficult situations. Accept imperfection and learn from mistakes. One of the Stoic teachings that relates to ethical decision-making is the idea of embracing imperfection. We will make mistakes. It's part of being human. When we make an ethical misstep, Stoicism teaches us to learn from it, rather than dwell in shame or guilt. Reflection and growth are part of the Stoic path. Each choice is an opportunity to learn and improve. Ethical decision-making is a Stoic practice. Ethical dilemmas are an unavoidable part of life, but the Stoic path provides us with the tools to approach them with clarity, virtue, and wisdom. By embracing virtue over convenience, practicing self-reflection, and focusing on what we can control, we align our decisions with our deepest values and act in ways that reflect our true character. In the face of ethical challenges, the Stoic mindset helps us choose what is right, not because it is the easiest or most comfortable option, but because it aligns with virtue. Every ethical decision is an opportunity to practice wisdom, justice, and courage, and to become the person we aspire to be. As we conclude today's exploration of navigating ethical dilemmas with Stoic wisdom, remember that true wisdom is found not in the ease of decision-making, but in the commitment to virtue and integrity, even when the right choice is difficult. Epictetus reminds us, The only way to gain true knowledge is to begin by acknowledging that we know very little. This Stoic truth encourages us to approach every decision with humility and a willingness to learn, knowing that our ethical choices define our character and shape the world around us. In a world filled with moral challenges, Stoicism provides us with a powerful framework to remain steadfast in our values, to act with wisdom, and to navigate each dilemma with rationality and grace. By embracing self-reflection, justice, and virtue, we can make decisions that align with our highest ideals, regardless of external pressures. So, the next time you are faced with an ethical dilemma, remember to pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what would be the most virtuous action? How can I act in line with my principles? Even when it's difficult, by doing so, you will build a life of integrity, wisdom, and meaningful success. Thank you for joining us today. If this video resonated with you, subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from learning how to navigate ethical dilemmas with Stoic wisdom together. Let's walk the Stoic path of virtue, rational decision-making, and moral clarity.